in the subconscious mind of black women. Now, according to Miss Erica and them, it doesn't sound so, but I'd like to hear. I wish there was some women up here. So let me drop the link again. I think I pinned it to the top of the chat, but here's the link. Anyone who wants to join the panel tonight can. Is this in the subconscious mind of black women? Is she speaking uncomfortable truth or self-hate? I'm going to be curious. It's going to be curious to hear what guys have to say. Let's start with the forecast. Forecast, what say you to this?
I would say that I wouldn't put it on black women, but I am starting to be a little bit nervous that this may be the subconscious of black people, even though they may not put it like her. You know what I'm saying? I've heard a lot of people say, yo, like in different ways, thank God for slavery, because we still be in Africa praying to a tree. And look, by actions, you have, showed submission. You know what I'm saying? When they can just do anything to you, and you calling yourself black Marxist, like we were just talking about. I mean, it sounds pretty submissive to me. You know what I'm saying? Now, this girl, she's lost. You know what I'm saying? She's a young girl. Maybe she'll come back to this like, damn, I was tripping. But I have talked to a lot of grown black men that sound just like this, so I can't really be tripping about it. So, you know what I'm saying? The self-hate is definitely real. So I can't just put it on black women. I'm starting to get nervous that, you know what I'm saying, they really did beat the racist bone out of us. So, but yeah, I'll pass the mic.
No, I like that. I like that contribution there, forecast. Yeah, I'm a little nervous because if she's young as this and thinks that way, I mean, there might be a chance for the change, or in this social media age where these people are influencers, she might influence other people, other young black women to think the same way. So it's very, very interesting. Let's welcome in our boy Jose this week. Jose Bronze, how are you this week? Unmute your mic, brother.
Yes. I'm okay. I'm good.
Good show last night.
You liked it. I like it. I like it short. I want to do it short.
Yeah, it was good. I caught the playback. So, but now I'm subscribed and I have the bell clicked and all that. So now I'll know when you do it again. All right.
Okay. Did you see the previous one?
I didn't. I'll check it out though.
The geometry, kind of the introduction to what's happening now.
Yeah. Jose, is this in the subconscious mind of black women? Is she speaking uncomfortable truth or self-hate?
I'm afraid, as my previous speaker, I'm afraid this is us, and not just black women. I mean, I've traveled some through frequencies, and I always reached out to boys in the streets, because I used to be a boy in the street, and I had a house where I slept and my parents were there, but it was not a home, so staying in the streets was warmer, right? The love in the street was warmer than at home. But I'm guessing that's behind this same frequency that she is explaining, right? So why are immigrants not in, why are African immigrants not in Africa building? It's because, why I submit to a slave? The white man is the master, so why don't I go to his country instead of listening to these apes that can even govern their own country? Well, I know that the master far away is jeopardizing our ways, right? Our will and routes. And I used to, in the community here, I used to say, when I thought, and sometimes I do think that black man has to step up, because women cater to the actual men in power, and it's not us. And I used to say, when your child breaks a leg, who does she call? Does she call you or the father, or does she call an ambulance? Does she call when the house is on fire? Does she call you or the black community, or does she call the white man's firefighter? and I can go on and on and on and on and on. What does a sister have to submit to in the diaspora? White man, yes, and just like she said, we're shoulder to shoulder, marching and begging shoulder to shoulder along with our women. That's that's not a good look. So yeah, we sure have something to do, and that's move out. Give back white man his white society with all those terms like capitalism and socialism and whatever. It's getting our own. Obviously, it shows that getting our own is being our own, and we can't be our own in a white man's country. Be here to trade or whatever, but don't be here to be a teacher at school when we need teachers in our spaces. But I yield the mic.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you said there. Like Nama X did. Nama X said, good points, Jose. The mental hate of some of our people applies to everything they do. I really appreciate what you said. Nancy Annette says this is self-hate. I agree with you too. Nancy, let's invite some of the Niger family where you are to tune in as well if we can. Let's get some continental Africans here. I think continental Africans could benefit, and we can benefit from their insight as well. Brandon says now he talking. Earlier, Brandon said stop focusing on the most lost of us. I'll say this, Brandon. I'll say this. When the ADOS FBA stuff was first starting, if folks remember me on Twitter and stuff like that, and on this platform, we should have stumped that shit out early. That has grown. How big it is in the real world, I'm not certain, but how big it is in the minds of people and how they operate with other Africans, we are not sure yet how damaging this thing can be. And so while we don't want to focus on a small amount of people per se, we do have to be mindful. And that's one of the things only talked about in the past about having nations and stuff. You have to know what's going on. You have to have your ear to the ground and be willing to stomp out some bullshit that's not going to benefit you and stomp that shit out earlier. So we got to get into the habit of seeing these types of things and being able to attack it, so to speak, to stomp it out so that this person doesn't influence the next 10 or 20 young African women. So we do have to focus on some of this stuff a little bit to stomp it out. Thanks for you. Thanks for what you had to say. Eric Howard said influencers on social media is destroying us, right? And she says that this woman doesn't represent her. With that said, let me go to Oni next. Oni, what say you to this?
Yeah, so that's the trouble. So this is probably a joke that she made, but that's the thing about jokes. They say like all jokes have a grain of truth to it. Unfortunately, there is a point here. If you are submitting to somebody else, then people are not going to submit to you. One of the things that with the conversation of submission, it always makes me think of the biblical marriage, right? But we have to, as a people, understand what economic system these people in this Bible verse had, and I'm not saying that they're real people or not, but I'm just saying that, if you were to look at them, they were, I think, like nomadic shepherds, So these are what Cheikh Job calls a patriarchal people, These are a people who the basis of their economy really is, carrying animals from one place to another and terrorizing agricultural people, really. But just being a warmongering people where their women are so useless in their economy, right? But they just carry them around. So it's to say that the women are completely dependent on the men in that circumstance. And what's more, the women in that circumstance, right, Like, obviously, they would submit to this man because this man is her protector, her caregiver, the person who feeds her, everything, right? He's her everything. Now you come fast forward, you're in this modern economy, and what's worse, for a lot of black men, they're not even making as much as black women. In fact, I remember somebody made a reference on social media along the lines of, I think they were saying something like African American men. Like if you see a black African American woman paying for an African American man, right? Like that's not even unusual. Whereas like they were saying that like maybe like you wouldn't really see that with other groups of men. Now I'm not saying that's true either, because my friend just told me some dude was asking her for money. But in Tanzania. But my thing is that like like nowadays you don't even have the same economic system by which you would have based that whole argument that women submit to me. So you have this outdated mindset in this in the Bible verse, but here you also have as this woman saying that you have a situation where not only are you talking about an outdated model, but you are being submissive to another male group, which is not even something that should possibly exist in your world, but that is exactly the situation you find yourself in. That said, when she says, hey, look, why would I submit to you when you are submitting to somebody else? She's speaking facts, she's speaking an unfortunate truth. Now she's probably making it a joke. She's probably saying it as a joke. She's probably, saying it inside of a way that's, like, what's wrong with you, lady? But she's also saying, black man, why are you submitting to the white man then complaining that I do the same? Or why are you submitting to the white man then asking me to submit to you when you are submitting to this white man? Right? And if I submit to the white man, I'm going to get more than you get. So why the fuck am I submitting to you? And I think that is something that, like before, like, cause I mean, you could easily like, dismiss her as, I shut the fuck up. Right. You could, but it really is something that we have to, come to terms with. And I think realistically, being in the West, like being in the West is really like a trip for us. Cause in Africa, you wouldn't really have this white man right there dominating you. You know what I mean? Like, even if he's somewhere in the back, you could, like not everybody knows about him. Whereas in America, it's as clear as day that this white boy is dominating you. And then, like I said, like people are embarrassing themselves. Like a lot of black men are embarrassing themselves with like, they're not even paying for themselves anymore. To a large extent, like whether it's dates, food, like they're arguing online. Should we even pay for these women? Like, yeah, that's like, come on. Anyway.
I connected the dots similar to what you did, but I don't know if this young lady demonstrated that understanding that, why should we submit to this black man who is submitted to this white boy, right? Why should we submit? I don't know. I don't know if she is connecting those dots the way you think she is. I'm not certain. I think she's justifying some bullshit is what I really think. But that idea that we shouldn't be submitting to this white boy stands. I don't care what the concept is, what the construct is, that stands. We really should, as men, we really are dropping the ball. We need to be better than what we have been. I will admit. I don't know if she gets that though. I don't know if that's what she's transmitting, and I'm not sure she's joking.
I'll say just to say, well, the reason why I'm saying she's joking is because, well, first off, the caption, as well as her body gestures, like young people have a lot of young people don't have the same sort of sense of humor that we have. So like everything about this presentation is kind of, and like even how she speaks, what she's saying, because it's like who asked her, it's a lot of it is like this is a witty quip, and then as far as as far as oh yeah, whether she has the understanding, what I say in the social sciences is that sometimes you just have to listen to the people, and I mean they're not going to have the same understanding, but you got to like wean through what they're saying and then try to apply it to the larger scientific lens. So a lot of the people are not going to understand what's going on, but basically this is a frustration. Basically, this woman is saying, "Hey, you know what? I would be down for the black man if he wasn't, in such a shitty position." And I mean, that's just her articulate. That's her way of saying it, And she's kind of clout chasing. She's kind of, oh, this is the witty quip. Why would I be blah blah blah? Because, and I can also say this: there's actually older black literature, from like the quote unquote black feminists, whatever, who would say that the black woman is a slave to the slave, and that's what makes her situation so bad. As to say that, like this is a recurring theme in American discourses, and as long as we don't address it, it's going to be like what you said with ADOS, where realistically you could go back to 1960 and you'll see the same sort of, oh, we have to talk about our lineage based, blah blah blah. Like you have that because there's this unresolved reality that it's up for us to give the right understanding and the right solution. So the actionable solution is that we, as African people, either go to Africa and be in our own in our mastery, or we just acknowledge that, hey, look, oh yeah, we just go to Africa, really. But anyway,
no, I appreciate that, Oni. I will add, before I go to Brother Bakari, I will add that similar to what Nama X had said in the chat, just because black men are in this situation, or black people are in this situation, and the tradition is to look to black men to get, the tradition is to look to your men to get you out of your predicament, which I get. I don't think that is grounds to separate from black men. Because when I look at other people groups, like Nama mentions, they, for the most part, they stick, like this Mexican. I always bring up this Mexican man because I look at this guy, and this guy, and maybe I'm wrong to do this, but this guy is kind of pathetic to me. This Mexican guy is kind of pathetic to me. And I look at him, and his woman will share a 1-bedroom apartment with 8 other couples, and they'll make that work. You know what I mean? And they're not up here on the internet talking about, being the slave to the slave. And which, by the way, was it's funny that you mentioned it, because I was thinking that was something that white women brought to black women. You are the slave to slaves. You need to mutiny against this guy. You know what I mean? And I think black women need to really, I get it. Black men need to put in that work, but and there is no but. Black men need to put in the work, and I think black women need to stand by them. Let's go to Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, how are you this week?
Yeah.
You're in the Matrix a little bit. Say something again.
Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. How are you this week, first of all?
Okay, look, I'm good, my brother. How about y'all? Peace to everybody on the chat.
Yes, sir. Good show last night with you and Buana, by the way.
He was real late. I don't know what kind of time he was on. That ain't even Bahama time. He didn't want to leave early. Just like a black person going to work. Leave early. Anyway, am I still here? Because I'm driving. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. You're much better now. Go ahead.
What I want to say about this one, okay, she's an idiot, but I have raised that same question to some black men, right?
I think we lost Bakari. Bakari, when you come back with a stable connection, hopefully on this prompt, I'll get you in there. And in the meantime, we get to a real black gentleman.
Look, man, I can't vouch for any of this at all. look, in this world, I mean, she can be iconoclastic if she wants to, and like kind of jostle concepts out here in the air like that. But like, you know, in the real world, you know, we have men and we have women. I mean, this is the nature of physiology and nature. I mean, the nature of life and like providence and like going out here and getting this work and getting these resources is going to be, men are more likely to bring home more load than women. I mean, also all smarts aside and whatever side, you know what I'm saying, characteristic, she is way out of line. I can't vouch for any of this. I'm not going to. It's not none of this like, well, if you submit to the black man, well, why should I submit to you? Because submission, everything's everything, right? Everything's everything. And I have time for that. Look, if you want to be like that, you can be on your own and you can use your own wits, or you can have enough sense, you know, and pair bond with a man and understand the nature of a femininity and all that. I don't have time for it. I'm not giving no vouch.
I feel you.
That's, I'm going to yield on that.
I feel you on that too. You could go be up under the white. This is why I used to like some things from KWAZ. Listen, if you want to go be up under this white man, go ahead. But you can't come back here. Go ahead. We'll get this shit together. And when we get it together, don't come back. Don't bring your so and such back around here. Shout out to Tanzan, who's in the chat, saying Amani and Habari to everyone. Shout out to Tanzan. Let me see if Bakari is good again. Bakari, are you there? Bakari, can you hear me?
Thank you. Yeah, I can hear you. You have a good one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your volume is a little low, but I can hear you.
Okay, y'all can hear me now. Okay, look. What I was saying was, I've made this argument to some black men. I'm talking about social media, and I think that's what really destroying a lot of black people today. They follow so much on social media. Like, you want to tell a black woman to shut up, because I've told a lot of black men on social media, if my daughter brought a man home like you, I would put her out the house. But you want to tell them to be quiet and follow you, but you constantly bow down to somebody else, right? I know everybody remember the movies Friday, the first Friday. Remember how everybody was scared of Debo, right? But then when Ice Cube finally stood up, Ice Cube ended up with the bad woman because he stood up to the bully. So when are we gonna stand up and stop just complaining? Because my thing is, this is something I say all the time, and it could be because I don't watch other people's videos. I don't hear other men sitting around talking about what a white man is doing to them over and over and over and over. I don't hear other men sitting around when I hear other people, or I see other people. I see how other people have system. I'm going to use this system to benefit my people. I don't hear other men talking about, let's do this, and then everybody can come, because don't nobody say come get the black people. Black people want to get everybody on. Black men want to call everybody in on their side because we have met a beast that we're damn afraid of. It's not even can't handle. It's the fear. So she's an idiot. I don't agree with what she's saying. And so I spend it like that was, let's just say hypothetically she is playing, even though I don't think she's playing. But the problem is when people say turn off TV, turn off the radio, turn off damn social media. Because this would just come from turn off 90%. I'm being honest. 90% of this YouTube and Twitter, this is where this nonsense is coming from, because these people is going to put folks in algorithm who you don't want to listen to. Like all those people named like
Bakari, you're breaking up.
The weak ass. Say that again.
You were breaking up there. You were saying something with people in social media, and you didn't want to call no names.
Yeah, I say like the crazy woman that say abort black male babies, or like the weak leader from FBA who sat there. I showed a video, FBA versus FWA, and listen to how they let white folks talk to them, never say nothing. But look at the smoke they have for black people. He was on somebody doing an interview with a white person the other day, and the white dude was like, I finally realized that black people has been broken, and it started 400 years ago during slavery. And his response is, you know what? You're absolutely right, and we have to stop. We have to stop being ashamed. In order for us to get past it, we have to stop being ashamed of saying we've broken. And see, and that's what I'm talking about. We got the people on social media teaching and pushing this damn weakness, and it's hurting our people. So when we say, yeah, we hurt our young folks and their future, no, that's her and probably the people she's around. But the young people who I talk to, now, it ain't gonna be nothing like that. And on that note, I hear the mic.
I appreciate that, Bakari. Thanks for coming through for us, technical difficulties and all. Yeah, I get your meaning. I will say this, though. We talk about black first. To me, that should also mean that black women are black first and black men first, too. And I think that's one of the things where we kind of contradict ourselves sometimes. If it's black first or black only, like Forecast would say, then it should be support this black man, encourage him, stand by him while he fixes this situation, and then the onus is on us as black men to really band together and take up this fight. So I think that it's still treasonous for black women to have these kind of sentiments that she showed. But let me go to Bwana Hagaziki and hear what he has to say. Bwana, you heard everything everyone else had to say. Is this in the subconscious mind of black women? Is she speaking uncomfortable truth or self-hate? Talk about it.
Okay, so let me first answer the question. So is this in the subconscious mind of black women? I would say that is in the subconscious mind of some black women. I don't like to paint everyone with the same brush, because black women here on this panel tonight say that's not in their mind. What are you talking about? So I wouldn't say it's in the subconscious mind of black women. And let me take it out of the gender thing, because I think it's in the subconscious mind of black people generally. Some black people, not all black people. In terms of, is she speaking an uncomfortable truth? Maybe that's an uncomfortable truth that we won't like to admit the situation that we currently reside in. You know, is she speaking out of self-hate? Absolutely. And here's the problem. When she talks about the relationship in her mind between a slave and a slave master, she doesn't realize, this is where I was talking about when you talk about history, people are historically illiterate, because even in that scenario back then, because she used an old analogy, you had free men in the societies, you had runaways in the societies who ran away from that situation. Would she be willing to submit to these men, black men? I doubt it, because it's Hellcat. She don't want to submit to nothing and nobody. You know what I mean? If she was to get a bottom shelf bride, I doubt she'll be submitting to him. You know, but and the whole idea is a submission is a whole other argument. It's in itself. But because ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, we are all gonna have to, unless we are operating completely and independently of humanity itself. You know, because some people have to submit to their children, and what their children wants and needs every day, they do that. You know, whether they know it or not. You know, but I think that, you know, and even in an analogy where in slave societies you had free men that existed, some of them were once slaves, and they worked their way into being free men. Would she be willing to submit to that kind of man in 21st century? I doubt it, because she has the philosophy and the belief that the white man ice is colder, and there's no convincing some of these kinds of people. This is the reason, as me and Brother Bakari was having a conversation the other day. And I told him that when it comes to narratives about power, in terms of black people, I don't like to have that discussion with just anyone. Because when you talk about the ideas of power, gaining control, having a say-so in this world that we currently reside in, black people have sucked their teeth, because they believe that is an impossibility. And to convince a man of that, sometimes it's like trying to swim upstream. You know what I mean? You have to get these kinds of ideas into the minds of very, very young people who are impressionable enough to grab that to the chest and roll with that. Because once their mind has been to a certain level of conditioning, their mind become calcified. They can't see beyond the narrative of slave and slave master. They can't see the narrative of men who think freely and independently of, not always having to consider what this white man thinking, doing, where he staying, where he work, what he eat today. You know, this his whole philosophy is different. And I mean, so she needs to broaden the people that she is around. I think that she needs to broaden her scope because the scope is extremely limited. Because I don't think that she has been around independently thinking black men, free thinking black men who operate in that kind of way. And I think that she needs to broaden her scope because if she perceives the world like this, either she's going to be an extremely lonely person in this world, or she will one day marry a bottom shelf bride and end up on the news. Because you know how white boys go with their girlfriends and partners, especially when they have children with them and see that their children don't look like them. But I don't ignore the fact that what she's saying is logical. Because if you look at her reason, logically it makes sense. From when she starts to slaves and the slave market, logically is right. But I think that there's some things missing from how she characterized this kind of particular situation. Because, like I say, there are free men back then, and there are currently free men that exist now. There are runaway slaves back then, and there are people. What if a person who was a slave want to run away from the so-called plantation she currently resides in her mind and want to live somewhere else? Would she be willing to go with him and create a system for herself? I doubt it, because Hellcat ain't gonna submit to nobody. You know what I mean? You leave people like these people alone. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So whether you try to show the evidence of, and I'm thinking, because I like to think in a positive way, but where if you try to even show this person, yes, there are black people who operate independently. Yes, there are free thinking black men. Her mind itself will fight against her every day. She won't go back to that paradigm where the white man ice is colder. So there's there with some people there is no convincing them. You must leave these people alone, unfortunately, because I have come to the conclusion, and this is an unfortunate conclusion, and until someone convinces me otherwise, I maybe I can have this conclusion in my heart that you cannot save everyone. This is just a reality. You cannot save everyone. You know, when you building that proverbial biblical ark, there's only maybe a few who will be able to be saved in this onslaught of trying to achieve this idea of nationhood, power, and control and independence. And unfortunately for the many, because I listen to social media from time to time, man, and the state of affairs of many of our people is not where we would like it to be at this current time. But the reason why I continually stay on social media is if the devil's among us consistently use this social media to propagandize us as buck broken, then I have to put content out there into this world that is completely different from that fray. I'm gonna fight against that until I don't have no more breath. Whether I'm gonna be on social media and continue doing it, that's neither here nor there. But in terms of if the devils could do it, I could do it too. I could do it and fight against it with my mouth until I could do it tangibly, physically, financially for more people. But that's where I am in my mental mind state. I'll stop there.
Yeah, that's exactly why I came on. That's exactly why I created the podcast, because I was hearing the nonsense out there from the talking heads, and I was like, nah, there needs to be some opposition. I didn't realize at the time how the cult of personality makes it so difficult to really be that opposing voice, but I'm here chipping away like the rest of you are too. We're all here chipping away, and I hope that we're all doing the work during the week to kind of subdue this type of mentality that we see on the screen. Because I could bet you money she got that mentality from an older woman. You understand? That's a young girl in the world. I bet you she got that from an older woman in the world, a Cynthia G type, who Brother Bakari was alluding to earlier. I got two more people. I know Tanzan just showed up, but I want to get to a female, a black woman outlook. Tanzan, how are you this week?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
And Tanzania act like she was surprised she was on the panel.
I'm surprised. You're surprised, or I'm surprised?
It sounded like you were surprised that you were on the panel. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good. Go ahead, Tan. What are your thoughts on this here?
I think that you should just believe people when they tell you who they are, and at least people like this, we don't have to worry too much about them because they already told us. So, yeah, yeah, she's just telling you straight out, like, look, when things go this way, this is the way I'm going, and avoid her at all, because they all have these crazy eyes things going. Like, look, man, like, look at that crazy eyes, man. She's gone. She is all the way gone. Yeah, I wouldn't trust her, in a lit room. Forget an alley. Like, man, get away from me. No. These people are absolutely like everything. No, this is not even self. We can't even give her the benefit of the doubt. This is just self craziness. Like, she's just completely all the way gone. Like, there's no point of even talking to her. Like, okay, fine. Yeah, she's one of those people when you're down, okay, fine, you lost your job, things are going hard on you, and she's like, yeah, because you're such a lazy bastard. Okay, fine, maybe you are lazy, but how is that helpful right now? Like, she is way like lost in her mind. That's all I can say. But unfortunately, there are people who seriously think like this, so we have to take her like half seriously. The other thing is this, if you go to the other side, like I'll always say, then you've already signed your death warrant. You're already done. So if that's your choice, that's fine. But some people would like to stay and fight. So if you've chosen to die, just go and die. Yeah, it's not an uncomfortable truth. It's actually the truth. And I think that more people should just speak their truth, and we should just, leave it at that. We shouldn't try to convince them otherwise, tell them they're wrong, just like with that washcloth. Remember that one on Focus's channel? Yeah, if somebody wants to not wash, let them be dirty. Yeah, let them be dirty. I mean, you don't need to save people, and this one certainly does not need to be saved. As soon as she gets on our side, she'll be sniffing around, looking around, taking notes, and all of that stuff, just ready. So no, I like these crazy ones, the ones who tell you they're crazy from the get-go, and then you know what you mess and not to mess with. So yeah, I appreciate her honesty at the very least.
I appreciate that, Tan. You have several people who agree with you out there. With that said, with all of it said, let's welcome in our boy Erzuliism. Erzuliism, how are you this week?
Yeah, I'm good. What's going on, man? I'm about to get called. I'm about to get called out on this. I already know it, but hey, I don't
Now,
care.
speaking, you heard.
Hey,
You heard
really?
Hey, what's up, Sam?
you
My
heard
thing
everything
is,
everyone had to say. Go ahead, talk.
I heard everything. My thing is, two things could be true. She could be speaking some truth, and she could have self hate. But the thing I agree with Goku that you said, when we fix this, she's not coming back in. The only way I'm giving her a grace is because she looks young. If she's in her 20s, 22, I'll give her grace for that. But I do think there's a lot of truth she's saying because we are really living under the Urugu system. No matter what, if you're a doctor, he taught you. If you're a teacher, he taught you. If you're a police officer, you learn from him. If you are an architect, you learn from him. If you're a pastor, you learn from him. Your language was from him. Your religion was from him. The name that you call yourself was from him. And that was 400 years. And most of you still ain't trying to change your name. So is she the only way I understand what Coco, I agree with you. Like, what she doesn't understand is just because that. So, what are you're not trying to overthrow the master? You're just trying to eat with him? So, I do agree with what you said, saying that when we get it together, when black men get it together, because at the end of the day, muscle respect muscle, military power respect military power. At the end of the day, she is a young lady. She looks young and stuff like that. So I wouldn't expect. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt because she's between, I guess, I'll say 19 and 24. But after that, if she's in her 30s, mid 30s, she's for the streets. We don't take her back in. But black young men, we have to get it together. And when I say we have to get it together, we have to get it together on our own system, not to be back to somebody's system and claim, oh, I'm the man. Just because you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, or you're a businessman, or you're a millionaire, you're still under the system. And if that's what you want to do, fine. But what she's saying, and which I know that it's an inconvenient truth, she said, why would I submit to a slave when you submit to the master? Why don't you just chill with the master? This type of woman, she's the one that was telling master that we was about to rebel. So the only grace I give this young lady is because she's young. I'm gonna let that slide. But Sister Shahrazad Ali said it. Most black women are not gonna help us change the system because they're benefiting from it. And most brothers are not gonna do it. It's only a few. Most people, most women, like I said, I speak to 10 all the time, and God, state property. And the men are state property too. So is it self-hate? I think she's an opportunist. Because I think the only thing she's talking about is money-wise. Because morally, there's a bunch of black men who are morally astute. I think she's only talking about money. So if she's saying, if you ain't got money, or if you got to get your job from the so-called quote-unquote master, who are you to tell me anything? And again, this was done on purpose to undermine the black man. When all the jobs were shipped away from Detroit, I'm gonna use Detroit because I heard that the car industry was shipped away. Yeah, the auto was to purposely cripple the black man. But then again, if you got to go get your job from him, are you not under his system? Are you not a slave? We don't want to say we're not a slave. Like you're a paid slave. When the whole thing came with the pandemic, what did happen? They even went to other people's countries, to the motherland, to the Caribbean, and forced y'all to take the shot. We got to be truthful about our situation. How could a man from another country tell you what to do to your own people? And if you don't do it, there's a price to pay. So yes, I see what Ten is talking about. Oh, she looked lost or whatever. But if she's between 15 and 25, I might give her a grace.
Razuli.
Yes.
You know, black don't crack. This woman on the screen is about 55 years old now.
You think so?
No, I'm kidding. But
if she's 55, she's done. Even when we get it back together, she don't come back. Because this person is not loyal. She's loyal to economy. And a lot of men are loyal to economy. If they can benefit from making money out of this blackness, they're not participating with it. That's where all these grifters come from. This lady is not loyal to the cause of the cause. She's talking about economic standing. And the black man right now is at the bottom of everything. Collectively, of course, there's a bunch of black men individually that economically made it. So I think both things would be true. She could be a sellout and she could be telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tough thing.
I will say this. I'll add this before I open it up for anyone to comment, because we haven't heard from Jose and Oni and them for a little minute forecast in case they have any last thoughts. But I will say this for the men who like to say, yeah, we're subjugated, so it makes sense. It makes sense that the women wouldn't. I'd like to say that actually doesn't really make sense. It goes against nature, I think. Like, it ain't gonna get better if the women divest. It ain't gonna get better for black men or for black people if you divest. It could only get better if we work together. So it just makes sense. Just be quiet. Support. Now, at the same time, men, you can't be out here bull jiving all the time, right? You can't just be talking. You got to be working. But it's not going to help us if our women are separated from us ideologically, and if they're what's the word? I don't want to use submission because that seems to be a triggering word. But if their allegiance isn't with us, then your allegiance is with them, and you're just making them stronger against us. So how is it making sense, right? Carl Hezekiah, shout out to him. He's out there in the chat. He said, black people are not the only oppressed people in the world. Their women don't talk like this. Anyone wants to add in last words? Go for it. Free fall.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh no, you can go first.
Although me and Brother Bakari, what's up, brother? Although me and Brother Bakari almost said the same thing, but he mentioned something that I want to turn positive. It's true. You will not find other races complaining, but at least we are complaining. That's all I wanted to add.
No, that's a good addition. I like that, Jose. I think Oni wanted to go, and then anyone after Oni. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's actually two songs now that I think about it. There's a song, I don't remember what year it is, probably like 1920s. And it's this black woman who's singing a song, and the name of the song is A Good Man Is Hard to Find, And basically she's just going over how, she can't find a good black man, right? And then recently I was bringing my, I'm not trying to have my son like that British lady who didn't know who Otis Redding was. So, because she was 24, I don't know why people was hype about that. But I have him listening to some Ray Charles. Hit the Road Jack had a animated lyrics video, and he was enjoying the song. But I'm listening to Hit the Road Jack, and he's like, oh baby, don't treat me this way. I'll be back on my feet someday. And she's like, don't care if you do, because it's understood you ain't got no money. You're just a no good. And he goes, well, I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go. That's right. Yeah. So as to say that this is a recurring theme in America, this idea that the black man ain't nothing. And like, we made songs about it, like I said, me trying to show my son some culture, if you will, involves a song where a black man is begging to not be kicked out of his woman's house for some reason, right? That's where we are. Like when we talk about other people, like the immigrant struggle is different. Like we have to remember that the immigrant struggle is different. I don't know how it is with you, Koku, but like I know a lot of immigrants like are really like they're really not in America the same way that other people are. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really process it per se, but like my mother was really in Jamaica, while she was here. Like she was physically in America, but she was like, here, mom, like she's giving my grandmother money, regularly, or she's whatever. Like my father right now, he's physically in America, but he's like, let me try to build a house in Jamaica or something like that. Like a lot of people have like they're here for the short run, right? But the thing with us is that, like I'm not necessarily saying I'm an immigrant per se, but what I can say, as a go-between is that like the African American mindset is not that they are immigrants here. You know what I mean? and they're not like, oh, I'm gonna get this money to send it back home. Because if you have that mindset of I'm gonna get some money to support my people elsewhere, people can F with that. People can stand by you. But what you have, and I think actually Oprah pointed this out, because I remember I used to have this African American elder who would tell me that Oprah, like she was like, why did Oprah build a school in South Africa instead of in America? And Oprah's reasoning that she gave, I didn't hear Oprah say this, but Oprah's reasoning was that she introduced, like I think interviewed a bunch of kids, and like the kids in America were like, I want to get this video game, I want to get that video game, I want to get this toy, I want to get that toy. And the kids in Africa were like, I want to get school to help my family, I want to get this to help my family, I want to, whatever. And it's like that there's a different ambition. So yeah, if I'm sitting inside of a 9-bedroom apartment not 9-bedroom, but I'm sitting with 9 people because I'm trying to feed somebody somewhere else, that's different from I'm, like my money is going to me and it's going to pay for my Call of Duty. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying a lot of African Americans are playing Call of Duty. I'm not saying a lot are, but like I could literally tell you guys, I was just like hanging out with not just, but I was with an African American woman, and yeah, she had a PS5. She had a PS5. Like I'm not saying that. Like I'm not saying. I mean, I don't have a PS5, and I'm not saying I don't have a PS5 or I don't like value video games. But again, like even that whole PS5 thing is like an immigrant is not like chilling around with a PS5. I'm not saying that immigrants don't do that, but it's like there's the there's the disconnect. So I think other groups of women are like, hey, I know why you're working so hard. I know why we're going through this, because we are looking for a better life in America, or a life to improve the life back home. But like a lot of African Americans are not like, oh, we're like, if you're a Pan-Africanist, that's different. If you're an African nationalist, that's different. If you're a Garveyite, that's different. But because a lot of African Americans are not Pan-Africanists, not Garveyites, not so on and so forth, like a lot of their money is going to themselves. Like it's not going to any other country. It's just going to what they can accumulate in here. And if that's the case, it's like that's low ambition. And that low ambition is not going to like win women.
That's why I like Oni. I like Oni. Oni, yeah, that's why I like Oni. Oni brings a solid point there. That's a solid point. Because I don't know if Caribbean women are divesting from Caribbean men like that. For the points that Oni pointing out. That's a solid point.
Yes, they are.
Are they? Really?
Yo, this is the problem. A Caribbean woman might not divest from a black man because he's going with the programming. He's giving her Christmas present. He's doing that whole trip. If a man is following the blueprint of materialism, they're not going to divest from them. Caribbean women come to America and do what the white woman does here. So they want to celebrate Thanksgiving. All these things that they do, get Birkin bags, all of that. What is that? What does that mean? They do the same thing.
Okay. I'll stand corrected, I guess.
I'm just saying. Let's just not say that it's only a Black American thing. One thing I wanted to say, somebody said, "Oh, it's not Black people that's only oppressed in America." But you know what the difference is? These other men that are oppressed, their dreams is to be like the slave master. So their women are not going to go against them. Black men who want to give Black women what the typical Hollywood dream is, she might submit to him. Most likely will submit to him. I don't know if a man who wants to give a Black woman the picket fence, so-called quote unquote, that Hollywood shows, that Black woman, most Black women will follow that.
I will add. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. Sorry.
No, I will add to what Lero was saying earlier. Lero said, she said Black people don't have a cohesive ideology in general. I will say that's where the race first, or as Forecast corrected me, it was Tanzan who said race only. He's right about that. It was Tanzan who said it. I do think the race thing should be the thing. I think the race thing should be, I think a Black woman should want to rally with and support, etc., a black man. I think just off the race thing alone, and to trigger Happy's point, not necessarily to sectionalize it. I think if a black American's with an African from the continent, she should stick with him, stick by him, etc., and vice versa, etc. So I will say that. Before, I know it's a free fall for everyone, but we did have someone join. Let me get Carl Hezekiah in. Carl, how are you this week?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I was driving. So, but y'all be home soon. But yeah, I was this woman, she doesn't have any point. She's a goddamn queen. You know, and I said in the chat, you know, about other races of people being oppressed. And I'm thinking specifically, at least in the United States, of Native Americans. You know, Native Americans there's only a few million of them left. They live on reservations. They have the highest rate of poverty in the United States. They're in bad shape. You don't hear, you know, Little Eagle talking about kicking bird like this. You know, it's retarded. This young lady, I don't even want to say it's mentally ill, but to think that she wants to be hooked up with some white man that is slave master. Like, do you know how white people got their wealth? Do you know how they got their ill-gotten gains? So when you want to, you know, be all hooked up in a relationship with him as though he's winning, like he's not going to turn around and do to you what he's done to our ancestors for centuries. It's ridiculous. You know, these divestors, I wish they went their best as far away as possible because their mentality is really toxic. You know, the same mentality that wants to criticize black men for not having the wealth and the resources that white men have. But yet at the same time, they don't want us to do what white men did to get that wealth and their resources. And it wasn't their ingenuity, it was their violence and their capacity to kill and murder and steal. So, you know, she's ahistorical, she's anti-black. We can't save everybody. She needs to, you know, wherever she's at, just to stay there with her white daddy and, you know, like Dr. John Price said, if you go over there, stay over there. You know, there's no place for her in a civilized black society. And, you know, I made a comment about her hair. Like, look at her hands. She hasn't had a black person touch her hair before. She's not with us as a people. She's a fucked up individual. So that's just my thoughts on that. I have a patient. They can all help you.
I appreciate that, Carl. Carl, I just want to tell you that there's a slight echo effect going on with your sound, and I know you're.
Yeah, I'm driving. I'm almost talking, so I'll be better this time.
Yeah. So if you could, if you hang with us tonight, if you could just fix that for us for the next prompt, that'll be good. Again, anyone who has last thoughts, let's keep it brief now. I want to move on to the next topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say something briefly. You know, in terms of slavery, you know, not all people who are enslaved capitulated to their enslavement. You know, and there are many things that the enslaved people did while enslaved. You know, some of them was grinding up ice, glass, you know, and putting it into the foods of the slave masters. Some of them would break up the machinery so the things wouldn't operate properly. They did things to undermine that system, even though they was living and had to exist within that system itself. So they did things to undermine that system. And one of the things in undermining the system that this lady currently exists in is to do the opposite of what this system wants you to do, which is only submit to the slave master and not the male slave. Wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be a better situation for her trying to undermine the system rather than accepting it for what it is to submit, is to be family oriented, is to respect the black male partner in her life, rather than being that slave who capitulates and just agree with the system that she has to exist in. Why not work to undermine it until she's in a better form or a better system itself? She's one of these slaves who's accepting us. She capitulating to slavery. She is a slave. She comes out of the boundary of the enslaved, and now she, in her mind, she is a slave itself. So even if she was outside of that system, she would still think like a slave. That's the problem. What I have in her analogies that she was talking about. As far as Caribbean women is concerned, no Caribbean women who I have dated, in terms of the so-called traditional things that we should do, Valentine's Day. Ask any woman I with, I tell her, say, I don't know who Valentine's is. They say, Moana, you need to be more romantic. I say, I'm not a Roman, I'm a Bahamian. So I mean, there are things that, well, I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it.
Yo, can I say something?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You know, I don't agree with what this woman said, right? But if black men publicly call themselves slaves over and over, you're a slave if you got a job. You're a slave if you're in the NBA. You're a slave. You're a slave. You're a slave. I don't agree with nothing that she said. But if you constantly call yourself a slave, right? Why upset because she say the slave submitting to the slave master? Because if you calling yourself a slave, you are submitting to someone. I'm just saying, if you calling yourself a slave, me, I tell people I'm not a slave. Because I'm not a slave. But if you constantly, and we're not slaves, but if you over and over and over call yourself a slave, who have you enslaved? You understand what I'm saying? So if you're a slave and someone have you enslaved, someone have you in captivity, I don't agree with her. I'm just saying, I guess I'm being a little devil's advocate, I guess. I don't know. But what I'm saying, if you constantly saying that about yourself, and then we constantly talking about how other men putting their foot up our ass, pardon my French, on your show. But we constantly complaining about that, and we ain't doing nothing about it, but trying to figure out a way to get some of those people who've been putting their foot up our behind all these years, for trying to figure out a way to get them on our side and say, see, capitalism got us all enslaved. If all the poor folks just come together. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if it makes sense to y'all. Or maybe I ain't explaining it right, but it makes sense to me. And on that.
No, and I get it. I get what you're saying. All of these points, even the oppositional point. And this is why I like Shoot the Breeze. Shoot the Breeze is an opportunity for us to actually bring up the oppositional points like Trigger Happy 262 Plus likes to do. Right? I get that point. I just think that there's something that trumps all of that. And that is man and woman, black man, black woman, African man, African woman needs to be together. And, we're in a fucked up paradigm right now. We're in a fucked up position, but divesting ain't gonna help. Let me tell you something. We are black men. There's a particular black man, Razuli, was sending me some stuff this week on Instagram and stuff. There's a particular black man out here with a white woman painting his face and makeup and all kind of shit. There's another big burly white man, black fella, twerking and popping his ass in restaurants and all that kind of stuff. He does it all the time. Listen, that LGBTQ stuff, you divest and go into that shit, you become a trans woman like the woman who was on the panel with Umar Johnson and them. That ain't getting you out of it. That ain't gonna help you out of it. And as a matter of fact, if you go and divest, like I said before, and I stand by it, and my brother Gas is in the chat. Shout out to Gas. There's a lovely conversation going on in the chat with Trigger Happy 262, Lero, and Brandon, who seems to be here through Urzuli. I appreciate that, Urzuli. Divesting and all this old shit, talking about being the slave to the slave, that ain't gonna help your ass, right? It just makes sense. You huddle down. Let's get organized as men and women, and let's turn this shit around. Let's go. If there's any last words, I'll give you a minute. Let's go quickly, and if not, I'll go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 tonight. Any last words on this prompt?
Yeah, I'll say it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole premise, dog. It's nonsense. It's something just to stir up the well. That kind of personality. Look, all this, like what we have to do, and I'm not waiting to be perfect in order. You know what I'm saying? I make judgments on character. Like if she's gonna play if I'm a slave and you're a slave, and slaves submit, there's so many fallacies and all that, I'm not even going to get time to it. You know what I'm saying? I see off the jump that I don't have time for that. And so, like, she's not of everyone. Look, I mean, it's complicated. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a man, and I'm supposed to be black man. If I'm not in like super hyper, mode, I'm just naturally casual black as I am. I don't need to support her at all. I'm not gonna sit here and reason that out. Women, look on the biological level. I know I'm taking too much time. But women have a short time to be fertile. If you're gonna be out here and you're gonna live and have an ultimate purpose of life, look, you gotta be settled and under the I don't want to see you say under, but I mean, there is a submission. There is a bit of like restraint involved in it. I mean, women and men both, we check each other, but the fact is that the way that the woman has to allow herself to be checked by the man. If we're going to even have a family and all that, there's a lot to it. I'm past, man.
I appreciate that, RBG. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 3. That was a great discussion. We're going back to Marxism now. So let's buckle up.